So the question before was like, is it true that chicken doesn't really need to marinate for all that long? Absolutely, that is 100% true. So I'm going to marinate it for literally no time at all. What I'm going to put in there, I'm going to throw in just a touch of soy sauce, a bit of sake, pinch of sugar. Again, like, I think you'll realize once you start to think about food in terms of the 5 tastes, like salty, sweet, sour, bitter, umami, you'll start to realize that all of the ingredients that you use are in the pursuit of those. Like, so when I talk about taste, I'm talking about things you can taste with your mouth, not stuff that you can smell with your nose. Aroma and taste are 2 completely different things. And taste makes food taste good, aroma makes food taste different. So, taste, for example, is anything that has salt or sugar or whatever in it. Aroma is something like coriander. So you can put like a kilo of coriander into your food. All it's going to do is make it taste more or less like coriander. It's not going to spoil it or make it great or whatever. It's going to taste more like coriander or less like coriander. Do the same thing with sugar or salt or soy sauce and you're in big trouble. So taste is the whole ball game, in my opinion, when it comes to cooking. So I'm just going to mix together my marinade, not really a marinade, because in the same way that the caramelization of the teriyaki kind of stuck all of the flavor of that to the outside, I'm going to use some potato starch to stick the flavor of my marinade to the outside of my chicken. The inside of the chicken is still going to taste the same. In fact, if a marinade did penetrate into the center of food, it would be quite gross. Like, it would be terrible, I think, because you want chicken to taste like chicken. You don't want it to taste like whatever you marinated it with. You want the outside of it to taste like that, but the chicken itself, you actually want to taste like chicken. So, what am I doing here? I have a deep fryer here at about 170 degrees, and I'm going to pull the chicken out of here and just drop it into my potato starch. Potato starch is a really good frying medium because it just gets nice and crisp. If you're worried about things going crisp when you're cooking with them, it's going to be crisp anyway. The outside of something is going to go crisp. It usually will stop going crisp, not because of anything that goes on the outside. Like, I mean, yes, if you're making lemon chicken, for example, and you deep fry something and then you stir fry it in a sauce, the sauce might wet it from the outside. So you have to reduce that sauce step right down so it's really quite thick, so it doesn't wet it too much. The other way it will get wet is by, or not crisp, is by moisture making it not crisp from the inside. And so this is really important, because if you can do this in one of 2 ways. So you can either cook it so much that there is no moisture left inside your chicken, and then it's going to stay crisp forever. That's actually genuinely not a bad way of doing it. You know, just cook it a lot until there's no moisture left in the chicken. It will always be crispy. Then you want to maybe toss it in a sauce so that it has moisture back into it. Or you make sure you don't overcook what you're cooking so that the moisture stays inside the chicken. Personally, I think that's a better way of doing it. But if you're worried about chicken being undercooked, which is something that a lot of people worry about, way more than they should, to be honest, then just cook it for ages until there's no life left in it, then it will stay crisp forever. So what I'm going to do is, hopefully without overheating, overloading. So my rule of thumb is usually 50% of the surface area of whatever it is I'm trying to fry in. I'll only use 50% of the surface area of that to deep fry. This is a deep fryer, so I'm going to actually cheat a little bit on that, because it's a lot deeper. Like if I was using a pot, for example, I would only use 50% of the surface area. So only fill 50% of the surface area so so the oil can stay hot. Because this is a deep fryer and it's deeper than a normal pot would be, I'm going to use a bit more than 50% of the surface area, so I hope you don't mind. And if you see the recipe cards that you have there, I usually fry karage 3 times. And by 3 times, I don't mean like triple cooked chips or anything like that where you'll fry it for ages and then take it out and rest it. Like I put it in for 2 minutes and then take it out and just rest it for like 30 seconds. And the reason I do that is because of, in the same way that resting a steak allows heat to penetrate into the steak more slowly, I also want that for the chicken here, because the chicken will get crisp on the outside, but as the heat slowly penetrates onto the inside, that's what's going to make sure it doesn't overcook. So I can cook that for 5 minutes straight up, but actually it doesn't matter all that much because the heat is still, even though it's out of the oil, penetrating into there. So I'll cook it for like a minute, take it out for 30 seconds, then put it in for another 30 seconds, take it out for another 30 seconds. Just keep doing it that way. The oil will stay hot, which is good. The heat will still keep penetrating in and the outside will stay crisp. So I think it's like win-win-win as far as that's concerned. How did this end up? Okay, that's a pretty good consistency. I like the look of that. All right, so how long have I been talking for? Not too bad. I thought I was either dramatically under or dramatically over time, but I'm pretty much on time, which is a new thing for me. So I'm going to cut the steak, I think. I could heat that back up again, but I think, steaks actually stay warm for way longer than you would think that they would. So I am going to just slice these now, so that we can put it onto a plate. And don't be concerned about using your hands when you're cooking. Like, I am a fastidious hand washer when I cook. Like, I will wash my hands so much in the kitchen because I use my hands to cook a lot. But that is actually quite important because, okay, that to me is perfectly cooked. I don't know about you guys, but I think that's how I would like my steak cooked. That was the thin one. Let's see how we did with the thick one. The rule of thumb, or the rule of palm I should say, is that if you make an okay symbol with your hands, yes?
Is it medium rare?
Is that medium rare? Sure, yeah. Yeah, no, that's about medium rare. I think people have visually different ideas of what medium rare is. If you're worried about that, get a thermometer, like a probe thermometer, to stick it in there, and it will tell you exactly the temperature. But then again, there's a lot of people who think medium rare is like 65 degrees, whereas to me that is way past well done. Medium rare to me is like 52 degrees, but yeah, so that to me is a pretty perfect medium rare, if you want to look at it that way. But as I was saying before, if you make an okay symbol with your hand, and you press this fleshy part of your palm there, that's rare, as they say. Then you move to the next finger, and that's like medium rare. And then the next finger is like medium, and then the little finger is like well done. It's not really true, so just wasted all your time, sorry about that. But it does illustrate how the meat will get more firm as it goes on, and that's kind of the important thing. So I just keep poking that until it feels. So my rule of thumb is I poke into the meat, and when I can imagine that instead of a finger, it's my mouth biting into that meat, and that's how it feels. I'm like, oh, that feels pretty good. Okay, that's how I would imagine wanting to eat this steak. Then that's good to me. I think it's a pretty intuitive way of doing that. So then now reduced kind of red wine teriyaki glaze on top of the steak there. We're almost at the end, so if anyone has any burning questions that they really want to ask before the end, you should do that like right now. I guess not, but it's good to know. Oh yeah.
Where's the air fryer?
Where's the air fryer? On my show on SBS, I think I must have yesterday said something about air fryers not being, okay, you're nodding. I did say something about it, right? Because I got a lot of letters today. I got a lot of emails from air fryer peeps today who were not happy that I was against the air fryer. And I'm not actually all that against the air fryer, if I'm entirely honest. Like, I even asked my wife, like, should we get an air fryer? It would be nice and easy for the kids. And she was like, don't want another thing on the bench. So that was the end of that. But yeah, I think that an air fryer is basically an oven. And I have a pretty good oven, I've got 3 of them, so I figure we don't really need another one, but I appreciate that it is a smaller size. But I don't appreciate that that smaller size has to be on the bench. So there's a lot of things, pro and con air fryer. My dad has an air fryer. We use it when we go to his house, so I'm not anti air fryer. I didn't put the ginger in there because I forgot, but that's okay. Ginger is not going to make that taste good or bad. Ginger is a flavor, it's not a taste. So that ginger is not going to make that taste good or bad. So I'm okay with that. If I had left, say, salt out of there or the soy sauce, then we'd be in a bit of trouble. But luckily I did not do that. So,
When were you meant to put the ginger?
into the marinade is when I would have put the ginger if I had been a little bit more on the ball.
Okay.
And I wouldn't have actually put the ginger in there. I would have grated it and then taken probably 2 spoons and squeezed the ginger together just to get the juice out of the ginger to give it